guys, if this is your first time to my channel, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emily and today I'm going to be talking all about what I would personally like to see from all of these makeup brands that we know and love. So I'm sure that we've all seen videos like this on YouTube, and there's been a lot of creators that have made videos on the topic of things that they'd like to see different makeup brands do differently and do better. But I feel like there can really never be enough videos like this made because everyone has different opinions, people have different ideas, and if for any chance makeup brands happen to actually come across these videos, which fingers crossed that they actually do, or if they ever even hear about these videos being made. But if they actually do end up watching these, maybe they can actually take some of this information and apply it to the brand. Because as we know, no makeup brand is perfect and no brand in general is perfect, and it's definitely the customer input and the customer feedback that really helps to shape the brand to give the customer what it wants and needs. So just like with other videos made like this on YouTube before, I have some interesting ideas that I feel like might be helpful for makeup brands as far as marketing and as far as some scandals that they get into. And I just wanted to put them out there into the world. This way, if a brand ever does come across my teeny tiny microscopic channel and sees this video, maybe they can find it helpful. And this is in no way hating on any specific brand. And of course, this is not in a negative light at all. I am making this video just to put my ideas out there and hopefully help to push towards the end goal of solving what's wrong with the makeup industry. So since videos have been done like this before on YouTube, I wanted to just bring forward some ideas that I haven't heard anyone really talk about or that I haven't heard talked about much. Because there are some ideas floating around out there in the internet world and in the makeup community here on YouTube that I think a lot of viewers and people who are in the makeup community already know about. So the first idea that I would like to see makeup companies start to do is bring out more single shadows. Now I know you're probably thinking a bunch of brands already have single shadows. And that is true, but oftentimes a brand will come out with these beautiful, perfect, amazing palettes, and then when it comes to their single shadows collection, it's kind of mediocre. And I know that palettes do sell more, so I do understand that, but there are people like me out there that really enjoy single shadows. I really don't prefer palettes at all. I end up depotting all of my palettes and putting all of my colors together, kind of grouped together based on what I like the best. So what I think would be really cool is if a brand happened to take some specific shadows from a palette, especially a very high selling and talked about palette, and took the specific shades that are the most popular from the palette and turned them into single shadows. Now, one brand that I know for a fact has done this is Anastasia Beverly Hills. Not only did they take Tempera, but they took Love Letter from the Modern Renaissance palette, and I remember when I first got my Modern Renaissance palette and I witnessed Love Letter for the first time, I was absolutely in love with the shade. That's what started my obsession and love for berry and pink shade. It all stems from right there when I was opening my mail in my car, too anxious to even wait to get home, and I opened the palette and my eyes immediately were drawn to Love Letter, and ever since then I have just been so obsessed with that type of shade. And I was so happy to see them bring out the actual shade itself in a single shadow form because I have hit pan on Love Letter. I literally have the most minuscule amount of Love Letter left in my Modern Renaissance palette. So I appreciate them bringing out a single shadow version of the most popular shades from that palette, because then I don't have to go out and purchase the whole palette and spend the whole $42 on the Modern Renaissance palette just to get one specific shade again. So I think that it would be a really smart idea for some of these bigger brands who do have really successful palettes to just bring out a couple single shadows from the most popular shades from their specific palette. So the next thing that I would like to see brands do is stop putting out limited edition skincare. I don't understand that, even in the slightest. Why would you bring out limited edition skincare? I understand bringing out limited edition makeup because you want to create some hype, or maybe you're not sure if it's going to sell really well and you want to just put out a small batch. That's understandable because typically people don't use up an entire eyeshadow palette and they don't have to repurchase separate eyeshadow palettes and repurchase more of them when they run out. Or lipsticks and whatnot, just regular makeup items in general, we typically don't have to keep repurchasing. But when it comes to skincare, your skin literally gets used to what you're using, especially if it's skincare that works really well. You have two different options when you're faced with limited edition skincare products. You either have option A, which is running out and buying a bunch of the skincare while it's still in stores, but then you run the risk of it expiring. And you honestly cannot use up that much skincare in the short amount of time that most skincare has a shelf life of. Or option B, and this one especially sucks if the skincare worked really well for you. You use up the product, you love it, and then you're stuck with not being able to buy it anymore. So if your skin got used to it and loved it and healed from the skincare and whatnot, then you don't even have it available to you anymore. So then you have to settle for something else, and different skincare products obviously work differently for the skin. So it just seems like a giant waste of everyone's time to bring out limited edition skincare products. I don't really like it, and I know a lot of people don't really like it, so I don't really understand the point of it. Why not just make it available to everyone at all times of the year? Because then you'll have more sales, and then we'll be happy. So it's a win-win for everyone if it was just available all the time. The next thing that I would like brands to do is to stop putting shimmery glitter and whatnot in matte formulas. Or if you're going to do that, at least explain on the eyeshadow palette or on the website or somewhere in the brand's marketing how the heck to use a matte eyeshadow that has glitter or shimmer in it. I personally don't hate mattes with shimmer. I used to until I discovered a specific single shadow, which is Makeup Geek's Raspberry, which is a berry kind of fuchsia pink tone, and it has some gold glitter in it. And until I discovered that shadow, I absolutely hated the idea of mattes with shimmer. After discovering Raspberry by Makeup Geek, I don't really care if a matte has shimmer in it anymore because I have found out that it's just going to basically fall out onto my face and I can just wipe it away, and then it essentially acts as a matte shadow. But I still don't understand the point of having to go through the extra step of wiping away the glitter fallout. It's not like it's a glittery eyeshadow or a shimmery eyeshadow or something that's going to stick to the eyelid. The shimmer literally just falls out onto your face, and it falls out onto your face throughout the day. But for certain shades, I understand just kind of powering through it for them because they're so pretty, and I definitely experience that when I use Makeup Geek's Raspberry. But I just don't really understand the point of it, and I haven't heard any company say why they do that. I'm not even necessarily saying get rid of it completely. At least let us know how the company intends for us to use it. This way we can actually utilize it to its full potential. So I would really just appreciate them giving us a little bit more insight on a shadow like that, or just eliminating the glitter / shimmer, whatever it may be, from the matte eyeshadows in general. And I'm not saying that if you like mattes with glitter or shimmer that it's wrong by any means, because like I said, I really like that one specific shadow that has the glitter in it. But for me personally, it always falls out onto my cheeks and turns into a matte shadow. And I have heard that from so many people here on YouTube that they experience similar things with mattes with glitter or sparkle or shimmer in it. So if it's your thing, there's nothing wrong with that. I just kind of want some clarification from the brands here because I'm confused, and I know there's a pretty big number of people that are confused as well. The next thing I am going to talk about here that I wish makeup brands would do is to stop discontinuing amazing products. Or if you're going to reformulate a product because it didn't work out very well and it was a fan favorite, actually go through with it if you say you're going to do it. Now, specifically, I'm kind of talking about Kat Von D here, and no hate towards Kat because this is kind of a compliment because all of her products are really awesome for the most part, but she seems to discontinue everything that is amazing from her brand. Now, I'm not just talking the eyeshadow palettes because we have heard our ears talked off about how much everyone wants the Kat Von D Mi Vida Loca palettes and how everyone wants the Pastel Goth back and whatnot, and I totally agree. I want both those palettes, and I don't really understand why they were limited edition. but I am more specifically talking about the blushes here. She got rid of the blushes a couple of years ago because I guess the formula was kind of off with some of them. Some people had some issues with the blushes being too hardly pressed and they couldn't really pick them up and get pigment on the brushes, and they couldn't really get anything onto their cheeks. But from certain people, I have heard that the blushes are the best things in the entire world. I've heard Luvs Reviews say that she loves the blushes so freaking much, and I want to try those so freaking badly. I am a blush addict. Okay, I freaking love blush. I can never really have enough blush. Okay, maybe that statement isn't really true, but let's face it here, I just absolutely love it, and it's one of my favorite parts of makeup. And oftentimes for me, I watch blush declutters and blush collections. I don't care if it's from 2014 or 2015. I'll watch it if I like you as a YouTuber. And recently, I have been seeing the Kat Von D blushes pop up in so many people's declutters and collections and whatnot, and everyone seems to say that they're really amazing and the shades look beautiful. I would love to support Kat Von D and buy some blushes from her. And I know that she said she was going to be bringing them back, and I'm not sure if that's in production. I know things take a really long time, but I wish she would at least give us a heads up. Hey guys, these are coming at you, so save up your coin for my blushes. I would absolutely love that. And if she does bring them back out, I'm going to be one very happy girl. But until then, I just don't really understand why companies go through with discontinuing something and saying that they're going to bring it back if they don't actually bring it back. The next thing that I would like to see companies do is to stop having so many different types of formulas of eyeshadows, blushes, lipsticks, whatever you have it. Just stick to one or two consistent, reliable formulas. Now, I know that TooFaced and Lorac are two very big names that do this all the time, especially TooFaced. I know that their holiday palettes are, for the most part, pretty low quality, and it just sucks to have to go out and spend $50 on something that you think you're gonna love, take it home, and realize that it's not the same formula as your original TooFaced chocolate bar palette. Now, I do understand that during the holidays, they'll sometimes end up manufacturing these palettes at different warehouses and in different areas of the world to cut some costs and whatnot, but if you're gonna go through all the effort of making a palette, why not just give your customers the best that you can? I don't understand the idea of cutting corners, especially when it's a big, huge brand. I mean, let's face it, TooFaced has the money to give us amazing, amazing palettes, and so does Lorac and other brands as well. So I really wish that they would just focus all of their energy and money and work into a really nice, consistent formula that they use for almost every single palette or lipstick or whatever makeup product it is. I do understand that formulas vary depending on the finish. I know that metallics definitely have a different formula than shimmers, and metallics and shimmers are not even close to mattes. But if you just had one or two consistent formulas for each type of finish of eyeshadow or lipstick or blush that you have in your makeup line, then people would know that you are a solid brand and that they can come to you and always be pleased with your product. I really don't understand how big brands are cutting corners and putting out product that isn't really up to par with everything else in their line. It's really odd to own multiple palettes from one specific brand, but have one palette be amazing and have one palette be absolute garbage. I don't really understand the point of it, and granted, I am just your average everyday Joe. I'm just a dental assistant. I don't know anything about makeup production or the makeup industry very much at all, but I do know the difference between a good eyeshadow formula and a bad eyeshadow formula. And I guess I could understand maybe if it was a smaller brand because they don't have enough money to fund putting all this money into quality, but when it's a billion-dollar company that is owned underneath Estee Lauder or just a bigger company in general, girl, you have the money to put in the effort to give us a good formula. Plus, I really feel like having all these different formulas, a mixture of good and bad formulas, probably gets really hard to keep track of, and they probably have to have a bunch of different labs doing these things and different manufacturing companies and whatnot. So it just seems like a lot of work. Why not just keep it simple? Come up with a great formula and just stick to that. I believe the saying goes, kiss, keep it simple, stupid. And the last two ideas that I'm going to talk about today kind of go hand in hand But let's go ahead and get started with makeup brands actually hiring people who know a thing or two about inclusivity. Now, I know I kind of have no room to talk because I'm just a simple little white girl, but I do understand that it's really hard to find colors in foundation, colors in concealer, colors in general in makeup lines if you are a person of color or if you just have deep skin in general. And I feel like there's this giant race going on with makeup right now just to push out product as fast as possible because so much of it and so many brands exist. But if you really want to sell your product and really have a good product and appeal to a lot of people who will buy your product, which in turn makes you more money, then you would want to include as much people as possible, especially when it's a foundation line, especially when it's concealers, especially when it's complexion products in general. You want to appeal to as much people as you can. And with that being said, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't know the reasoning of why these brands keep coming out with 12 shades of beige and then 2 shades of deep. But I know a lot of people, myself included, do not feel like it's fair to come out with a complexion line of products if you're just going to include 2 deeper skin people and basically have the majority of the line be for lighter skinned people. That's just not fair. That's insulting. And I can't even imagine what that would be like, and it grosses me out even thinking about it. So I don't know why they do that or what the purpose of that is. But I think that it would be really smart for brands to hire someone who knows a lot about inclusivity and who has a lot of ideas about broadening inclusivity in the brand. Now, I know that oftentimes magazines and bloggers and news articles will hire people that are more informed on culture, that are more informed on inclusivity, I suppose, because they want to educate themselves. And that makes sense. Not everyone is born knowing everything and knowing what's right. But I feel like I always see a bunch of bloggers and influencers and just people on the internet in general who are very educated and very smart on these types of topics. And I feel like brands could just reach out to these people and say, hey, you seem to know a lot about inclusivity. Could you come work for us and teach us and help us to make an amazing foundation line? I know that TooFaced recently has done this with Jackie Aina, and that is definitely to be applauded. So 2 claps for TooFaced, because that is a very smart idea. And if they weren't really sure of what undertones would be good and they didn't want to just take a shot in the dark, they hired Jackie Aina, who is a person of color. She knows these types of complexions pretty well. They are now benefiting from her ideas and learning from her about inclusivity, and not only will this benefit the product that she is working on right now and the complexion products that they release from here on out. So this is knowledge that a company can really benefit from because it's not just a one-time thing. They can learn this type of information and learn how to be inclusive and learn how to better their brand to fit more skin tones, and that will affect the company long term. So I know that I am not the best person to talk about topics like this and talk about inclusivity and whatnot, because for one thing, I don't even wear foundation or very much complexion products at all. And another thing, I am not the typical demographic of people who struggle to find complexion products that work, but I do understand that it is really hard for some people to find complexion products that work for them. And it's insulting to go into a store and to see a bunch of one shade and to see barely any of another. And I really truly do think that is wrong. So I would love to see more brands hire more people like Jackie Aina and other influencers and other bloggers and people who are very woke when it comes to inclusivity and stuff like this to help them and help benefit the company as a whole. And the last thing that I would love to see makeup companies improve on is handling when things go wrong. Problems in companies and in life in general are literally inevitable. They are going to happen more often than anyone would like them to. And sometimes it's someone's fault and sometimes it's not, and it's not really a finger pointing game here. But I know that a lot of people in the beauty community, including myself, feel like some of these brands do not handle criticism and when things go wrong very well. And it's not like you have to be perfect, you know, things go wrong and people handle things differently, and sometimes things just suck and it's hard to handle things well. I totally understand that. I am notorious for handling things kind of badly when everything seems like it's going wrong. But when a product is recalled for bacteria growing in it, or a brand's security wall on their website goes down and everyone's information is vulnerable, or just things of those measures happen. It's really important to let the consumer and the customers know what's going on, keep them in the loop, and apologize. I understand apologizing can be really freaking hard. I am a Taurus. I am stubborn as all hell. I hate apologizing so much and admitting that I'm wrong. But when it comes to security and health, you have to let the consumer know what's going on. And waiting and being scared and not wanting to admit your faults will only make it worse. And it will only make people more mad and more upset and put people at risk. The most important is putting people at risk. So I would love to see brands just outright say when something wrong happens, because things are going to happen. Some things happen just out of the blue without anyone even knowing that they're going to happen, and it's inevitable. But there's a way to handle it, especially if you are a professional brand. And I truly feel like letting the customers know what's going on and apologizing and maybe offering a refund, maybe a free little gift, maybe something to try to make up for the mistake would be a really good idea. And I definitely know that some brands handle things really well and have done this in the past. But I know that there are specific brands, and I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure we can think of some that do stuff like this and that have done stuff like this and have tried to hide it from the consumer and try to cover their tracks and not apologize and be stubborn. And I can understand wanting to do that because I am like that. I totally understand. But when you are a brand and it comes to these big issues of security and health and whatnot, you have to let people know and you have to keep them in the loop. And I definitely think that people will still be mad if they find out that there was something growing in their makeup product and they were using it the whole time, or if their security information was possibly breached and they need to cancel their credit card or something like that. But they will thank you in the long run for letting them know and for taking care of business and keeping their safety in mind. And although they might end up being mad at first, after it kind of calms down a little bit, I'm sure it will sink in that you had their best interest in mind and that you owned up to your mistake and handled it. And to me, that really shows good practices and just a good brand in general, and a brand that actually cares about the consumer more than their feelings. Because when it comes to business, you have to put the feelings aside, and it's important to take care of the consumer and to let them know what's going on if something bad happens and apologize for it, even if you don't want to apologize. A simple "I'm sorry, can we fix this for you?" can go so far and could have prevented so many outbursts of anger amongst the beauty community, because we've had a lot of those over the past couple years. And I feel like a simple "I'm sorry, let me take care of this, let me give you a coupon for your next purchase" would have definitely helped. So with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. Now, I know I am not perfect at all, and I'm not at all saying that I'm so much better than these brands, oh my gosh, and saying that, you know, I'm perfect and they're not, and that they need to fix all these things. That's not even in the slightest what's going on here. I'm literally just saying these ideas because they just popped into my head randomly, or I've heard other people talk about them. And I feel like it's important to keep putting these ideas out there because I feel like all of these ideas would positively benefit brands. And I feel like none of these would cause any detriment to a brand at all. It would literally only positively help them. And that's something that's really important to businesses. They need feedback to improve, just like people need feedback to improve. Now, no one needs mean comments and hate and whatnot, because that doesn't help anyone. Literally anyone. And as you can tell, none of these things that I mentioned were hateful or mean at all. They were just suggestions. And suggestions can be really helpful, especially for brands and companies, because it helps them to improve. Just like people can use constructive criticism and just tips and tricks to help them to improve. So this was not at all bashing anyone. So before you comment, I'm just a hater. This is not from a place of hate. This is from a place of love, because I love makeup. I love makeup brands. Some of my favorite makeup brands in the whole world have made very big mistakes, and I would like to see them succeed. I don't want to see them fail. I love their makeup, and I'm sure that they're okay people and whatnot. I don't want to see them fail. So I feel like when people put ideas like this out into the internet and out to the public, it can help a brand who might possibly see it maybe someday. But all ramblings aside, that is going to be it for today's video. Georgia Harris and Jen Luvs Reviews both have amazing videos like this on their channel, and I think Liv Loves Her Makeup does as well. So I'm going to go ahead and link those ladies down below if you'd like to watch some more ideas. All of their ideas are great as well. I do hope that you consider subscribing if you have not already. I have all sorts of makeup goodness happening here on this channel, so if you are not already subscribed and you would like to be, I would love to see you hit that button down below. I hope you are having an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye!